So, hi, this is Mark Hand, GreenGov Council Director, and we have Matt Reese, Assistant Director. And we're happy to give you the some information in the fall update on our activities for the GreenGov Council today. And again, as Matt said early on, while we were just waiting, we're going to have we definitely encourage everyone to have offer questions. There's different parts of the presentation where we're going to stop and look for questions, and then again we're going to have a longer period of time at the end for more questions. But we'll just jump right into it and hope you get some information from what we've been up to since the spring update. Let's see, okay, so just very basic. I don't know if there may not be anyone new that's joined or isn't familiar with it, but the GreenGov Council was formed by Executive Order 2019-01, and basically that set Pennsylvania's first climate goal under Executive Order, which is 26% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2025 and then 80% by 2050. And it also set other specific goals for agencies to lead by example, which Matt will be talking about in a minute. Something that I learned recently that I think, I don't know if it's obvious to everyone, but it wasn't obvious to me that, Pennsylvania is one of 24 governors that signed the U.S. Climate Alliance agreement to meet the greenhouse gas reduction goals. And, over the past year or so, we've been meeting with partner states that have similar goals. So a lot of the states in green have very similar goals to what the GreenGov Council has as far as energy reduction goals and vehicle deployment goals. So I guess my point here is that we're not alone, and it seems to be this pact and this alliance with other states seems to be growing over time. More states are joining on, which is very exciting. So for Matt and I, it's very exciting that we're just, we're not alone in this initiative, and I'm happy to support Pennsylvania's lead by example. I'll turn it over to Matt at this point.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. The lead by example goals, as you can see listed here, are to reduce energy consumption by 3% annually, 2020 and 21% by 2025. Replace the passenger vehicle fleet with EVs, 25% of it by 2025. Renewable energy, and that's to procure at least 40% of the Commonwealth's annual electricity through renewable sources, and also to build any new buildings, major renovations, projects, or build-to-suit leases need to perform to high performance standards. Specifically, is 10% better than ASHRAE 2016. So, and we're along the way of performing that. So, and next slide. Thanks, Mark. Some of the achievements on our goals here, and one we're pleased to share, and if you haven't heard it in the news or seen, or is the Pennsylvania Pulse project. So that's the project to utilize light and solar. So this is a solar project that basically is done through a procurement. So the Commonwealth does not own the arrays, and but though it will be sited at 5 different locations within Pennsylvania, and provide for 50%, roughly 50% of all the Commonwealth's owned meters. So we're really proud of this. It should be it's going to be under construction soon, and hopefully be online, so to speak, come January 2023. So not too far off. And from that point, it's a 15-year contract, and we're very pleased at the rate that we achieved for this, and it's very competitive in the market. Actually, it's very similar to the rate we have now, which is a fantastic rate because of the power, the bulk purchasing power that we have for all of our meters. So we're just proud to share this, and also we're working on some site occupancy agreements. So that would be on our own space. Land is agreements for the installation of powers, where they have power purchase agreement that would be on site at some of our facilities. So looking to we're certainly on the ground running with the renewable energies piece. Next slide, Mark. Now this slide, we put this together last year and it was in our annual report. And this year we're going to we're working to update it. But basically, is what we took is if you look at the 25% of our vehicle fleet, of our passenger vehicle fleet, and you break that down to what that actual number is to be electrified, so to speak, it's right around 990 units. So last year, Mark and I developed this chart for our annual report to kind of show what we had delivered, which wasn't very many, and what we would project to need to deliver in the out years to meet that goal. And as you can see here, the projected for 2021 would be roughly 90 units. And as we work with agencies to kind of summarize where they are and what has been delivered, we're at roughly 65 units. So we're not there yet. I'm not sure if that number will grow any between now and next month when we look to recreate this chart again for our annual report. But in any case, I don't think it's too far off base or too bad, considering we're coming out of a COVID year and a whole lot of change for everybody. So to hit 66%, I guess is what it is, or a little bit greater than 66% is not too shabby. But certainly we are planning to have this next year be a pretty robust EV delivery year. All right, next slide, Mark. I guess we'll take a minute there and ask if anybody has any questions in regard to the PA Pulse or the overall, the GreenGov goals or EV, and then we'll move on to a few other items. It looks like we have a hand
go ahead,
raised
Peter,
there.
if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just curious when you were talking about the potential for additional site occupancy solar. Do you have a sense of what that could add in terms of megawatts?
That's Matt. I was just going to say we don't really know for sure because we haven't studied all the land that's available around, mostly like a lot of corrections or DHS, the human services facilities. But there's a lot of potential here. I basically tell folks that it probably might replace, the bulk of the PA Pulse over time. If we were to stay aggressively implementing solar on our own sites. But I really don't know because we haven't studied it completely. But we do know we have a lot of space, land potential around sites. I don't know if Matt, if you wanted to add anything there.
No, I think that pretty much summarizes it. And yeah, right now, until we have the mechanism completed and are able to explore what that what that universe is, we wouldn't be able to hang a number on it.
Yeah,
and it looks like we have another question from Rob Graff. Rob, if you want to unmute yourself and
thank you. This is Rob Graff. I have a question about the fleet question. The goal is to get to 25% of the fleet being electric by 2025, or 25% of new procurements being electric by 2025?
No, 25% of the overall fleet, the overall passenger fleet. So what we derive down to be roughly 990 units.
So what percent? I mean, usually fleets have a turnover rate of 12 years, 8 years, 7 years, whatever. Can you talk a little bit about how that turnover rate is in the Pennsylvania fleet, and then sort of what percentage of newly procured vehicles will need to be electric in order to meet the state's goal? Thank you.
I can't really speak to exactly what that turnover rate is, and the reason being is that a lot of our operations are so varied. So, for example, if you look into our state park operations and the vehicles that they have there, and everybody has a different model. They run them basically until they can't go any further. And others cycle them out at they have a set mileage where they start to work them out of the fleet. So I really can't speak as to what a standard, life expectancy would be. Although I will tell you that there haven't been a whole lot of other procurements in the past year just because of the COVID, and we have a lot of vehicle miles traveled that are down in a big way. Some of that's not going to come back. We've moved to a work from home model, which the Commonwealth never had before. So we have a hybrid of that going forward. So that's really big news on our end, and definitely a lot of energy savings associated with that. So really, we're facing a shrink happening with our fleet, so to speak. So, and that's a great thing. And then as vehicle manufacturers continue to roll out in their lineups vehicles with plugs, and we'll certainly be a buyer for those, and work to meet our goal, and maybe even go beyond that in the future. So I hope that answers your question.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions before we continue on? All right. Okay, so I have a brief update here on the GreenGov checklist, and as you can see here, the 2021 average checklist score was 59%. For the third year in a row, we have 100% agency participation. We're very proud of that. Agencies continue to move the ball, and even with us moving the yardstick, so to speak, on the checklist, of which I'll speak to in a little bit in the next slide. So if you jump, Mark. All right, this slide here is literally apples, oranges, and bananas, because this shows the overall score for the agency certification checklist for 3 years in a row. So 2019, 53%, 2020, 61%, and now 2021, a 59%. And the reason why I say that it's apples, oranges, is bananas is because our first checklist that we came out with in 19, we expanded and grew upon that for 2020, and then again for 2021. So I think for 2020 there was roughly 80 measures. In 2021 there's 87, a few more 4-point measures, which is the top point number that assigned to a measure. So we moved the yardstick and gave more bites at the apple, so to speak, in each one of these categories. So between the benchmarking and evaluation, buildings and structures, transportation, products and materials, culture, renewable energy, as well as resilience. And speaking of that resilience piece, there's as we look to read the tea leaves and compare the apples, oranges, and bananas, I think there's still a big takeaway from here that even with expansion of the checklist and making some items harder to get, and at the same time giving a bit more opportunities in there as well, is that as we come out of a COVID year, we only lost 2 points with an expanded list. And if you can see here that the category at the end there, the resilience, actually gained. So I think it's really indicative of the ability of the Commonwealth agencies to shift on the fly and to adapt.
Yep. Folks need to probably mute here.
So shift on the fly and adapt, and when faced with an external threat. So I think we're pretty proud of of where we are right now, and of the scores. And next slide, Mark. I think we have another opportunity here for a question, if anybody has it, and if not, then we'll move on to some communications pieces.
Okay, well, we can keep rolling. So I just wanted to cover the GreenGov communications, and probably most of you know that we have a GreenGov annual report. We were talking about it earlier. It sort of rolls up all of our information from the lead by example goals and also our Commonwealth focus groups in different areas and what we've been doing into one report. And so, we have, if you're interested, we have a 2019, and then we got a little bit more robust and enhanced it for 2020. And we're going to try to, it's a labor of love, I guess, but we'll be working on the 2021 annual report here pretty much after this call, and moving in through the holidays here for an early first quarter release of the full report for you. So that's coming up. And then many of you hopefully noticed or saw that we have a GreenGov newsletter that we started. We had 2 quarters so far. We just are kind of rolling this out. This is it. Basically, we look at this as a helpful tool where if you don't have time to spend an hour or so reading our full annual report, or you want to just kind of get small reads of what's going on with green government, we have this quarterly report that we send out, and you can register online for the quarterly report. It has just little small reads on agency updates and ways that the ways that really Matt and I find in real time the way we're leading by example. So if we find something that's interesting in the Commonwealth, we try to translate it into the newsletter for you. And then also any tools that we're using. So like this last newsletter, we featured the Drive Electric Coalition's Drive tool, ways to analyze fleet electrification. So it's something we're going to investigate through our Bureau of Vehicle Management, just to see if it's a tool that we can use, and we encourage local governments to also do the same. So this is just a way that we can communicate together and share stories. The other big piece that we're happy to announce and promote is this Pennsylvania Climate Leadership Academy. Essentially, there is the Association of Climate Change Officers, ACO, worked with the Department of Environmental Protection to they essentially have a purchase order through the Department of Environmental Protection to have services to offer to us. So one of the things that ACO is doing is they're offering climate change education components. Essentially, one of the items is a certified climate change professional, CCP credential, that some of your staff in local governments and businesses could and may want to take, so that you can be more informed about decision-making processes that where climate change intersects with everyone's business practices. And there's also different training modules that we have in there, and it's just getting started. There's a board that's been formed, and we're looking to develop content for basically the Commonwealth to really tackle climate change in a more comprehensive manner, and try to figure out how we can do more, educate more, provide more information to decision makers on how best to influence their own decisions that impact climate. So if you're interested in this is a big item. I didn't even do it justice here, but please definitely Google Pennsylvania Climate Leadership Academy. There's a lot of information there, and please do consider signing up for some of the classes and the information provided on that website. And also with the PA Climate Leadership Academy, we work with Penn State Sustainability Institute, Peters and gang, to put on this webinar series. We have our 3rd webinar series with Penn State, and it's actually, I think it's starting here in next month in a couple weeks. So you can also register. There's 6 webinar series coming up on different topics. Most of them this time around are centered around climate, so it's very timely. And if you're not on these seminars or webinars, please do join. You just go to our website, you fill out a form, and essentially the form goes to Matt. Matt sends you an Outlook invitation to register and get you onto the webinar series. But one of the actual items on the webinar series, going back to the PA Climate Academy, is ACO will be talking for an hour or with question and answer on what the Climate Academy is in more detail. So if you have a chance to check out the web, or if not, please join the sustainability series on that topic as well. And then one of the other things we're pretty excited about is this year we had our first ever Sustainability Week in the Commonwealth. It was October 4th through 8th. We didn't promote it outward to local governments and businesses. It was internal for state agencies to reflect on the way we do business in the Commonwealth and how we intersect with sustainability. So we had daily messages to all employees on different sustainability topics, and you can see those listed there. We also had the governor's office agree to a proclamation declaring that October 4th through 8th was Sustainability Week, and we're hoping to repeat this next year, and possibly we can expand it a bit to other stakeholders and get more participants. But this was a big lift for us to just sort of get this moving, to get the first ever Sustainability Week started. And there's, if you're interested in what we've done, we have an entire Sustainability Week section on our website, so you can kind of see what messages we put out there and how we handled that. So I guess we'll take a break for any questions on communications. Joanne, you have your hand up. Yeah, can you unmute? I hope you can unmute yourself. Let me see if I can unmute you. I cannot. Well, if you want to actually type your question in the chat, we can handle it that way too. We heard from you earlier, but I don't know what happened. So, any other questions? Yeah, and Joanne, if you want to type it in, we'll answer it. We'll stop and answer your question. Oh, okay. Joanne's asking what is the link for the Penn State webinars. If you go to our, oh, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, Mark. Yeah, you can, if you go to our, the GreenGov website, or you just simply Google PA GreenGov, the website will come up, and under the resources, I believe is where it is, or under news. But in any case, you'll be able, it's pretty pronounced on the website. You may have to click around, but there's certainly opportunities there to see what the speakers are and to register. Good.
Okay, well, I don't see any other questions. And so we have essentially 6 focus groups that we want to cover, and we're going to try to do it in about 15 minutes or so. So I'm just putting that time on Matt and myself to try to stay on target here, because we want to give you a chance to ask questions at the end here. So I say that because there's a lot of detail going on in these focus groups, so we get lost in, and we love getting lost in the details at times, but we'll stay on target here. So the first focus group, which correlates, it's the focus group's utility management. It correlates with the GreenGov agency checklist with about 24 points for agencies that they can secure through participating in this focus group. Essentially, our vision for this utility management focus group and the Commonwealth as a whole is to develop an enterprise-wide energy and resource management strategy for tracking all energy meters, waste, and water, so we can identify ways to save energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from our operations. And of course, this is super important, as most of you know. You can't manage what you don't measure. So it's having a tracking program is key for transparency, and it's really the basis for a lot of our work in the annual report as well. So that's the vision of this group. One of the things that we were looking to do this year in this focus group was to have quarterly reports. So other than the annual report roll-up that you see at the end of the year or the beginning of the next calendar year, we also are working to develop annual reports by agency. And these are not for the public. As a matter of fact, we have probably, 12,000 reporting meters that we're covering. And so we're still working out some of the details to get all the meters reporting accurately. So what we started to do just a few weeks ago was we rolled out the first quarterly reports for each of the agencies and said, here's how your data looks like in the summer quarter compared to the last year. It may or may not be complete based on how complete the meters are reporting on the back end. So we also give them a spreadsheet of how complete their meters are on the back end. So essentially what we're doing is it's like a soft, I would describe it as a soft rollout of reporting, where we're giving it a shot to give quarterly reports to agencies, knowing that there's going to be a few holes in the data. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, the annual report is the go-to metric for the entire roll-up of the Commonwealth. But the point here is we're trying to get agencies to start to look at their energy data at a more frequent basis, get those reports out of our focus group to the executive team so they can kind of see trends and different things going on. So this is one of our, it may seem small, but it's not, because it's quite a bit of work for with all the meters that are reporting and for the Penn State Facilities Engineering Institute to keep up with, but we're appreciative of the effort, and it's quite a process. So I'm going to pass this to Matt for the next focus group.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so we briefly touched on this, well, not on the focus group, but the goal of the EV delivery within the Commonwealth fleet, and to support that action and to help lift up this within all agencies is the development of the EV and EV charging focus group, which works to develop charging delivery tools and acts as a shared resource for all agencies as we look to move forward and deliver our projects. Another piece of this is to help educate folks on EVs. Literally, I mean, a lot of people haven't even now had any exposure to them. I know for even myself, it's been limited. So literally what they are, what the benefits are, how to operate them, how to charge them, what we need as far as charging infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And next slide, Mark. As I briefly mentioned, that infrastructure part, we're really viewing that as a, if you break it out to I still can't answer what comes first, the chicken and the egg, but when it comes to EVs and EV charging infrastructure, the one that comes first, it has to be the infrastructure. And the reason being, it's much more difficult for us to deliver a facilities project than it is to procure a vehicle. Well, maybe not in the times being right now, where it's certainly difficult for all vehicle for procurements. But in any case, it takes more time, more effort, more manpower hours, jobs to deliver the EV charging station. So that's what we're focused on. And as I had said before, and you can see it here again, is to make 2021-2022 year a robust EV charging delivery year, and that's certainly our goal. So as you can see by this photo, is what we've come up with here is a site where we intend to install an EV charging array. This is what's pictured here is Cameron Street. This is the basically to the left of Cameron Street in this picture would be the Farm Show Complex. So this is the Pennsylvania Veterinary Laboratory, and also the Pennsylvania Agriculture Building, of which we're planning to install some EV chargers here for the traveling fleet. For our it wouldn't be for public use; it would be for basically Department of Agriculture's pool cars and other use. So I put this in here as an example as we work to lift this up and create many more projects like this with other agencies. So next slide, Mark. And here you can see as we speak to the vehicles, and our Bureau of Vehicle Management is constantly working on getting additional vehicles on contract, and it's certainly a big lift for them. It's certainly a big lift for anybody in these times. Certainly everybody sees in the news with the microchip shortage, that it's been certainly delays in getting vehicles when you need one, and we're no different. But BVM is continually working to get additional high efficiency vehicles on state contract. This chart is a chart that we put together last year for our annual report. We're in the process of updating this now. We would have liked to have it already updated, but again, with the unprecedented times that we're seeing right now as far as availability and delivery times, and dealerships being able to commit to having a vehicle available. It's certainly been a difficult road. So we don't have the chart updated, but we're looking to do that very, very soon. And we have been hearing good things from BVM that there are folks that are stepping up to the plate that will are trying to guarantee deliveries in the next year. But hey, what's we gotta do what we can. So in the future, we'll have it's only going to grow. So even as the microchip shortage works itself out, and additional manufacturers continually introduce more vehicles with plugs, we'll certainly be a buyer for them. So next slide, Mark. I think I hand it back to Mark here for construction and leasing specs. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, the focus group construction and leasing specs has a lot of GreenGov agency checklist points as well. We can see 31 across the bottom. What we're trying to do with this focus group is address the goal to build buildings to high performance standards. And we also have our lease portfolio in this group as well. So we're looking at new construction, major renovation, and ways that we can enhance leasing as well. And we also talk about existing green building standards like LEED and green globes as well in this group. So one of the things that's happening in our high performance buildings, this is essentially for new construction and major renovation, is our Bureau of Public Works is putting together a sustainability checklist and hopefully it'll be available in early 2022, so you can get a feel for the draft. But it's essentially they're committing to the 10% better than ASHRAE to meet the governor's goal, but we also know that we need to do better overall, adding more sustainability and resilience in our buildings. So they're putting together a checklist, which are sort of like essentially the top hitters that we think that agencies should focus on new construction and major renovation. So that's in the works. It takes some time to develop, but we're making some good progress on that. And then under the leasing side, which is another half of our portfolio is leased, we have quite a few. We have good square footage in both leased and owned. But on the lease side, we agreed to a new lease policy. And so essentially, without getting into the weeds too much, we worked with DEP to through a consultant, a small contract, to put together a roadmap for our green lease strategies. And we ended up settling on our own high performance lease policy. And essentially the policy shouldn't be news to many of you, but it's the basics of it are we're going to look to add high performance elements to facilities, office spaces over 20,000 square foot or greater. And the components of that are essentially to do what you all kind of know needs to be done, which is energy benchmarking. There's going to be an energy audit component to it. And then from the energy audit, hopefully we can move into specific measures that directly from the energy audit that get negotiated into renewed leases. So that's basically the component of this pilot. And so hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of that being rolled out in 2022, or at least started to. It takes a little bit of while for us to get everyone up to speed and get the questions answered, but we're working on that right now. And so I think we're going to stop there for questions on any of these first three focus groups, which are utility management, EVs, or construction and leasing. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, sorry to be asking yet another question, but on the buildings and leasing, two questions about that. And is there what are you doing, or what is happening with existing buildings? Is there going to be some sort of a retro commissioning effort for that? Is one question. And the second question is, Is there any move to get sort of Energy Star scores for both owned and leased buildings? Can you talk about both those efforts a little bit?
Yeah, so as far as existing buildings, we're basically relying a lot on our Guaranteed Energy Savings Act. So essentially, energy performance contracting is where we're getting actually when it comes to meeting the governor's goal of 3% reduction per year. It's really coming from our existing buildings and the role that the performance contracting plays. So that's ongoing. I didn't mention that, but there's new projects coming on every year, and they're usually fairly large and really knock out big chunks of energy consumption through energy performance upgrades. And then the second piece was Energy Star scores. Matt and I worked together with Bureau of Procurement to get essentially an ITQ, an invitation to qualify for Energy Star for professionals to join our invitation to qualify, our ITQ, to basically give agencies the opportunity to procure Energy Star certifications for buildings. So we're working on that as going forward. That's going to be a tool that's available. We will probably be announcing that more this coming winter about how folks can get involved with Energy Star procurements. So hopefully that answers your question. I know that was a little sloppy, but
great. No, that's excellent, Mark. Those both sound like excellent news. Thank you so much. Because as you know, existing buildings are very important.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions on those three? And if not, we have 3 more focus groups, and then we have a decent question and answer at the end as well.
Mark, I just noticed a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Did I miss an update on the goals and progress on charging infrastructure side? You must have. Let's see. Back. I don't know if I want to go way back. I guess I can go way back really quickly.
Yeah, I wasn't clear actually when you showed this slide the first time, because at first I thought you were talking about charging here, but then you started talking about vehicles, and then I wasn't sure if the 990 was vehicles or chargers.
It's kind of one and the same. I guess we're viewing it and through the lens of basically the first vehicles that we're trying to electrify are pool cars. So each one of these pool cars would have its own dedicated plug. So with 900, so through that lens, if we, and not only that lens, but for even if they're individually assigned vehicles, is that each one of the vehicles would also have a reciprocal plug with it. So.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, excuse my scrolling. Close your eyes for a minute, maybe.
It's like time travel. Thanks, Mark. And I'll step back in here, and I know that we were going to try to be done with this at 3:15 and allow for a more robust question and answer session. So we'll try to hasten the process a little bit. And here we have the next focus group is products and materials. Products and materials is focusing mainly on our environmentally preferred procurements, our recycling programs, and an education piece for employees in regard to EP, procuring environmentally preferred products, as well as developing more robust recycling programs and giving employees the ability to pitch in, so to speak, in many cases, quite literally. So next slide there, Mark. And with this, at the bottom here, I just want to share first is that, and give a shout out, so to speak, to the DGS procurement team for winning the EPEAT award 2 years in a row. And as you can see here, the EPEAT is the Electronic Product Environmental Assessment Tool. And basically is what they have done is on an annual basis, they procure a pretty staggering amount of computers and peripherals for the Commonwealth. And in doing so, they have lately been able to engage into contracts where there's a guaranteed recycling or trade back program, so that those computers and equipment don't become e-waste. So it's a really great initiative and really great performance, and kudos to them for achieving a great result in it. And other measures here are things that we're lifting up within the recycling program are recycling kiosks. We're working on having an in-house made kiosk that'll be placed in all of our facilities, where separated bins will help really develop our source separated recycling streams, so to help create better commodity markets for those materials. And literally, as I mentioned before, giving employees the ability to pitch in and be a part of that effort. Next slide, Mark. We regularly partner with the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center, and through them, that will be a big ally to help us develop, the more into a commodity, these recycling products and the source separated materials. With them, we're looking to set up site tours for other recycling operations, composting operations, and as well as material recovery facilities, so MRF facilities, and maybe even have the opportunity to construct one of our own that would serve the Capitol complex, which is a really terrific, it's been be a really nice setup for us, and also as a lead by example goal. Another announcement in here, as you can see, we show a picture of the Ridley Creek State Park sign, and recently there's been a partially recycled plastic roadway surface that's being used in a repavement project of the Ridley Creek State Park that contains 2% post-consumer plastic waste. It's in the form of bags, so basically plastic bags. So taking a low value, one single use plastic product like that can otherwise end up in the environment, and utilizing it as part of the asphalt matrix is a huge advantage for us. So this is one of the first ones in the state of Pennsylvania, and we certainly look to expand that operations going forward and have that ability to sequester that product. And from what I'm hearing, at least from some other sites or other pilot programs where it was installed, is that the asphalt matrix is actually more resilient going forward. So it's definitely the situation of a win-win. So next slide, Mark.
Okay, this is back to me. So green facility management is another focus group. Lots of points available in our checklist 36. And essentially, what we do here is we give in a quarterly basis, we give facility managers an opportunity to collaborate on all things energy and sustainability for facilities. It's a work in progress. We're trying to, these groups do talk, but we're trying to get them to talk more about green building practices and sustainable operations of the building. And so, a couple of things that we've done in this group, you may have seen it. We have our GISA best practices book that's actually highlighted here on this page. You can find it on our website if you want to see some of the energy performance contracting that we've done through the GISA program recently. And then the big news for us, it's big for us, but probably not for everyone else, is we have a new management directive 720.05 that was revised. And essentially what this does is it's instilling a number of energy management principles into the Commonwealth's practices. And it's really important for us moving forward to get a management directive for facility managers. So, so the group, is looking looks to utilize, basically we need this group to work together to develop communication strategies for best practices sharing. There's a lot of good things going on in different agencies, but I think part of our work here with GreenGov is to get agencies talking and communicating about what they're doing from green and sustainability, and working to enhance that with them. So the facility managers also intersect with all these other focus groups too. And so we see that this facility manager focus group is essentially needs to know about EV charging and EV deployment. They need to know about what's going on with recycling in Commonwealth operations. They need to know a number of different things that are happening in other focus groups. So there's a lot of communications pieces that happen with this group. And I think I'm going to pass it to Matt to cover the last focus group, and then we'll go into question and answer.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And as Mark had mentioned in with the sustainability week, and we have a specific sustainability teams focus group, and really what this does is help to within that management directive that Mark spoke about is within it is large energy programs that the Commonwealth has. So energy benchmarking is in there through a program we utilize by the name of Energy Cap. Obviously, the GreenGov program is in there, which we're certainly proud of. And then there's other ones in there for the delivery of energy saving projects, like such as through our Guaranteed Energy Savings Act mechanism, as well as through job order contracting and other project delivery mechanisms. But also it sets forth the development of and maintenance and maintaining of agency sustainability teams. So kind of mirroring the private sector in this aspect, and we're certainly happy to lift this up. And with this group that we work collaboratively to help in that effort for agencies as we go forward. So and through that mechanism will be the best practices of what the sustainability team will do. It'll consist of a representative from each agency's major business or program area, so that all pieces of that agency have a voice or a seat at the table as they go to make guiding decisions for that agency into the future. Next slide, Mark. Here we reuse the slide here, and this is the Commonwealth Sustainability Week. So we're going to use this week as an annual marker or a placeholder that we're going forward. We'll share large sustainability actions, wins, and initiatives that agencies have with other agencies. So to prop those up and share that messaging piece is a really big tool in the toolbox for us. And this next slide here is the messaging that we had this past sustainability week. So as you can see here, in a daily message was sent on a daily basis with a unique sustainability message to each employee. And as you can see here, we started out with food security, to sustainable transportation, to climate change, recycling, including food waste, and high performance buildings. So, and these graphics are available on our website, as well as a whole host of other information for each one of these topics. So we invite you to take a look and take a look at the additional resources that are there. And next slide. I think that's it. So we'll open the floor here if anybody has any questions in regard to the overall program or a specific focus group, or any other item that we covered.
And I see, we'll start with Joanne, because I think she had maybe the first question in the chat. I think you're asking, is the recycled asphalt more expensive maybe than regular asphalt? And then more, okay.
Pervious.
Okay, more pervious than regular asphalt. And is there a procurement site for municipalities to use this? Is it cheaper or more expensive? Okay.
I'll take that one. And Joanne, thanks for the question. And I'm pretty certain that it is not, unfortunately, not more pervious than existing asphalt product that we're putting down. And as far as the price and availability for municipalities, that information just unfortunately isn't available yet, because this is a pilot for us. Really is what we're doing is this going down in Ridley Creek State Park, and I think we have 2 other sites right now that are pending for use for the product. And basically what will happen is the Department of Transportation will develop a specification for it so that it can be bid in projects. And that's what we're looking to do. We're not there yet. Once that specification is completed, it'll have all of this information in it, and then also be a part of that CoStars program where municipalities would be able to select it from a list for their paving projects.
See, yeah,
Right.
someone has their hand raised. Yeah. Rob, I guess.
Yeah, the state is learning an awful lot of really great stuff in implementing these projects. How is that being shared with outside the state agencies? I'm sure you're doing this already. Just want to know how you're sharing it with, say, municipalities and so forth. Whether you may be planning to speak at some of the township managers associations and so forth for those aspects that are relevant to municipalities.
That's a great question, Rob. I guess if you have specific, we are always open to communicating these. It is hard, especially with this COVID period, to get out in front of folks recently. But I guess from local government standpoint, we worked with their, I don't know what the program is called, their local climate action grantees, or I'm not sure what, I forget, LCAP program. I think Joanne's one of them. Yeah. So we try to network with them. We're trying to get, with Penn State and the sustainability series, we work with Penn State to get local governments involved in the sustainability series and messages out that way as well. So we're trying, but if there's any specific pieces,
it's difficult. I understand that it's difficult to get people's attention. I just didn't know if you had any program. Maybe I assume there are at least some municipalities that receive the Green Government newsletter. So that's a good vehicle. So thank you. I know it's always tough to get the word out when you learn something. Appreciate the effort. Thanks.
Sure.